It's our annual tradition. Chris Beachum here with Gold Derby, Rob Licuria over in Sydney, although he'll be in LA soon to go to the Emmys for the first time ever and to meet many of us for the first time ever. Rob, good to see you for one last time on the computer.
You too.
Well, I mean, we'll see each other on the computer for hopefully many years to come, but the next
There will be more. There will
be in person. Let's. This is our 27 categories in 27 minutes. We're good about the time, too. You can clock us as you go. And we're going to go through some of them really fast because there's not much discussion, and others will take a little bit more time. And that one that needs a little bit of time is comedy series. Rob, what do you have?
I'm really kind of beside myself over this one because I think that you could make a really good argument for almost all of them. I'm going with Fleabag. I think it really has rallied over the last few weeks, particularly during voting. It's beloved by the industry. It's respected. Phoebe Waller-Bridge has had an amazing last couple of years. And although Barry, Veep, Marvelous Mrs. Maisel particularly are very much in the running, I'm going out on a limb for Fleabag.
I do think it's those four. I think, unfortunately, for all the people we deal with at Veep, I think they're in fourth place. Even though they've won 3 times, they lost a lot of nominations that they were accustomed to getting. So you have to look at the trends and look at the numbers. I think Barry is probably in third. I think it's it's way too dark, I think, to win comedy series, although, some of the actors. I've had Maisel in first the whole summer, but I just switched to Fleabag. I'll tell you the main reason why. I don't sense the passion anymore for Maisel. It might be this Emmy ceremony with one win, and I think that might be Tony Shalhoub, who we'll talk about in a moment. Maybe Alex Borstein too, but I don't sense the passion anymore. And the thing about Fleabag is, I know Modern Family won without getting some writing nominations later on, but that was under a whole different system where people were ranking. They might have been first, second, third on every ballot. Here, the last 3 years, it's just one. You mark one show, your favorite show, the show you're most passionate about. And from what I hear on the streets, that's Fleabag.
Yeah, and I think Maisel will walk away empty-handed on Emmy night. And if anything, I think it's Barry that probably has a shot because it really is also very well respected. It's a auteur type of comedy. I know they don't normally win, but this one's Bill Hader, Alec Berg. I think this one, that has a definite shot, but let's go with Fleabag.
I'm not thrilled about my choice, but that writing snub on Maisel really tells me something. That's what I was referring to in the Modern Family part. I don't want to spend much time on this one unless you got a shocker for me. I think it's Julia winning for the record time on Veep.
Yeah, although you could try to make an argument for Phoebe Waller-Bridge just as I did for Fleabag, but I think Julia, this is her last one. There's a lot of love for her, a lot of respect, and I think she will just take out her last one for Veep, and then that'll be it.
Comedy actor, I think, is a runaway. Nothing against the other 5 men. But this feels like Bill Hader. I've never wavered on this one, and I think it's a done deal.
Oh, absolutely. Let's just move on. Bill Hader's winning his second Emmy for this.
Now, comedy supporting actress is one that I swapped this weekend. You tell me first who you've got.
I've had Olivia Colman in for a little while. Number one, the reviews for her performance in Fleabag were extraordinary. Number two, she just won the Oscar, and I think there's still a lot of love and respect for her coming off her performance, her Oscar-winning performance, and her performance on the Oscar stage. I think this one's a tough one, though. I'm prepared to hear your arguments. Please go ahead.
Well, no, I've had Alex Borstein forever. Since the voting changed, it was 3 years ago. Is that right? Vote splitting is a real thing at the Emmys, a real thing. Unless
it really is,
to be far and above the better of the options, like Sterling over Milo. Not that Milo didn't deserve it, but that first year, Sterling didn't have anything to worry about with Milo. The year before, Sterling didn't have anything to worry about on the OJ people in his category. What we've seen, I don't think Olivia has vote splitting to worry about here. I'm not sure that Alex does either. I don't think Sean, is that how you say it? Sean? And,
Sean, yeah.
Yeah, and Marin
And Marin
Hinkle
Hinkle.
really that competitive against their co-stars. But I think, like you said, the Olivia Colman glow off of the Oscar is going to help her. The one thing I don't like about this is she's almost a lock next year to win for the crown. I think this kind of takes away some of the fun of that being a year from now.
Agreed. And so I agree about Sian Clifford. She's fantastic, but I think Olivia Colman has more of a dynamic performance. Marin Hinkle probably has more screen time, relatively speaking, so there could be a bit of vote splitting between her and Alex Borstein. And I must say, if this was about episodes, Sarah Goldberg would absolutely be in contention because her episode submission is absolute dynamite and she is absolutely in with a shot. However, I think this is Alex Borstein versus Olivia Colman, and I'm going with Olivia.
You know who else has a great episode is Betty Gilpin. Under the old system, she could have won here.
Right.
I'll tell you another thing that I've noticed. We're all learning off of the new rules. You know, that first couple of years, especially, we didn't know how to predict some things because we didn't know. The other thing that we've noticed is if you're in a series nominee, you've got a way better shot at winning because I think 15 out of 16 last year on the acting nominees were in series nominees. So I know it's going to happen occasionally, but maybe once or twice per year, can you throw that dart and pick that one? Arkin and went to Tony Shalhoub. Shalhoub's in a series nominee. Alan Arkin is not. The three Barry guys, I think this year, maybe not last year, although two of them didn't compete last year. There's more vote splitting there this time now that Henry's got his Emmy. And I don't know that Tony Hill had the material. So Tony Shalhoub beating a bunch of lead people at the SAG Awards makes me feel like this is his.
Yeah, look, I have been agonising about this one, and I agree with you. The Emmys are becoming more like the Golden Globes. All the rules that we would have for the Golden Globes about series nominees having a better shot in the acting categories and absolutely applies now at the Emmys. And Tony Shalhoub sounds like the safe bet, and I noticed all of our colleagues at Gold Derby, I think, are pretty much going for him, apart from, I think, Paul and myself, who are going for Alan Arkin. I think that it will be the exception to the rule because a lot of voters will see his name on the ballot and probably won't resist voting for a bet Oscar winner like Alan. Tony Shalhoub's got lots of Emmys, and so I'm going out on a limb on this one, but I'm not feeling very confident.
Well, the reason I'm not confident, all of his Emmys are for Monk. He's never won for anything else at the Emmys. So,
yeah, that's right.
That makes me concerned a little bit. He's a very respected actor, just coming off a Tony Award win a little over a year ago. So I think this might be his time.
That might be his time. And by the way, I think the Barry actors would all be really, really good contenders as well. But the vote splitting is going to hurt someone like Anthony Carrigan, who's very loud and funny, and yet he's got to compete with his two co-stars. That's a problem.
I think if Henry had the same situation last year, he might have still won. But not going to win this year. We love him at Gold Derby, and I think he likes us as well. But I think this year, now that he has won, it makes it more difficult with the two other guys coming in. Directing, what do you have there on comedy?
Ronnie Lilly for Barry. I've seen that episode 2 or 3 times now. I'm pretty amazed by it. I noticed most people are picking that. It just seems more directorial, autorial, and so that's why I'm going with that one.
Well, not directorial, but territorial. The directing branch used to be more territorial about, we're not going to give this to an actor, who's directing his own TV show. but people like Donald Glover proved that wrong. So I think you're probably right. I would look out for Fleabag here too. It's one of the only ones here that doesn't have vote splitting, so that's a possibility. On writing, I've got Fleabag only has the one episode, and it's written by Phoebe, and it's the season premiere. I think that's a pretty safe bet.
Yeah, I'd be very surprised on Emmy night if that does not win. The reaction from episode 2.1 was pretty sensational. It's almost a perfect comedic episode in my mind, and I can't imagine it losing.
Now, speaking of one we don't need to talk a whole lot about, drama series.
I'm going for Pose. I'm kidding. I'm going for Game of Thrones because that would be insane.
it's got, even in its final season, which wasn't as well received, it got more Emmy nominations than it's ever gotten before, and that's something it could say many times over.
But I must say, Chris, if you look down the line, which we'll talk about in a sec, a lot of people are not predicting Game of Thrones in quite a few categories. And that gives me some pause. Or I'm sure it will be drama series. It has the inertia, but it's not going to sweep like, say, for example, The Handmaid's Tale did a couple of years ago. And that gives me just a tiny little grain of pause.
I think all of the crafts people that are voting in all of those branches are going to make sure that it wins.
Yeah.
And I just, there's nothing, so many shows took a break this year. I mean, there's some very good shows in here, but they're not like The Crown good in terms of, The Crown might could have beaten Game of Thrones if it had aired, and it was this Olivia Colman season from what we're hearing in advance.
Yeah, what you're saying is what would be the main competitor here, and a lot of people are thinking Killing Eve, Pose, Ozark, and for me it would be Succession, but Succession unfortunately didn't get any actors nominated. So there's a lot of arguments for Game of Thrones apart from it just being the juggernaut.
Drama actress, who do you have?
That one's killing me because I've had Emilia Clarke in there forever because I expected there to be a Game of Thrones complete like bloodshed, and I just changed it before our discussion to Sandra Oh, which again is giving me grief because the vote splitting I think will hurt her. However, Sandra Oh is beloved. She has other nominations, and if it's not her, then I know who you've picked, and I want you to talk about it because I think it's a really astute pick that you're making. I am completely at a loss here, so I'm not helping you.
Well, by the way, I was going to remind people, if you just tuned in, I don't know how you would tune into something like this late, but 27 categories in 27 minutes. I am out on a limb away from most people in thinking it's Laura Linney. Series nominee, it fits my criteria. I don't know if you're a Killing Eve fan. I don't know how you choose between the two. Half could mark one and half could mark the other. They only can't. If they were ranking, I think Sandra Oh would win, but they're not ranking.
Yeah,
Laura Linney, before Emmys, every role she's ever played on television that's been nominated for an Emmy. She just wins. Every role she's ever played that got nominated, she's won for. Doesn't mean she might not win next year for Ozark or the year after, but she is.
Yeah. And you know what? She's bloody good in season 2 of Ozark as well, I might add. And by the way, Jodie Comer has a very showy role in Killing Eve. I would argue showier than Sandra Oh's.
Well, same scenario. If it was last year, I think Sandra might could have beaten Jodie in a vote splitting because everybody was yelling around her. Now, she did win the Globe and SAG this year, but I just, when I talk to people about Killing Eve and they say, oh, well, this one's got it, or I always ask them who would they vote for, and I bet I've asked a dozen people, 15 people. Every one of them says the opposite. So it's a classic definition of vote splitting.
So there you go. That means this could just be a complete surprise. We could actually see someone from behind the pack actually take this because there is literally going to be a very wide vote splitting spread here. We could see a Mandy Moore. We could see a Viola Davis, even Robin Wright. So like this one will be one of the ones that we'll be talking about after the show.
Okay. Who do you have on drama actor?
I think I'm going with the consensus with Billy Porter. It's a showy role. I think it's kind of very timely. He's beloved. He is very loud, and he's actually quite popular. And he's wonderful in those. And I think he'll probably take it.
I've debated Billy Porter, Jason Bateman all summer in my own mind. It's one of those two. One of those two is taking home the Emmy. Jason just got the SAG award earlier this year, but it just feels like Billy Porter's time. He's having some kind of a year with the, Oscar red carpet hosting. He's all over the place. Everybody wants him at their party, at their event. It just feels like the right time. And if I'm right about Laura Linney, that might hurt Jason just a little in that they don't want to give both lead trophies to.
That's right.
If I'm wrong, now what should be Jason Bateman and Sandra Oh, the opposite of what I'm thinking.
Yeah, right.
But
then why not Kit Harington then? Why not Kit Harington? Like, Game of Thrones is going to do so well, and yet here's yet another category where we don't think it has a chance.
Fourth at the best. Bob Odenkirk's ahead of Kit Harington.
Yeah, but for me,
Saul. He will.
Yeah, absolutely. But looking at the quality of the arc that each of these actors have had, I would even argue for Milo if it wasn't for the vote splitting, because he's so equal now with Sterling in terms of their impact over the season. Absolutely. So this is another category that we have to watch.
Well, we got to keep moving along. I'll do drama supporting actress first. I tell you who it's not. It's not one of the 4 Game of Thrones actresses. That's another one where I've asked people and they all give me different answers when I read the forums. It's like 25% on each side. Well, maybe not Sophie, but the other 3 have strong support. I flipped back and forth between Julia and Fiona. I ultimately landed on Julia Garner.
I did as well. That little SAG nomination that she received was quite telling for me, and she is going to be a force to be reckoned with. She's a breakthrough performer. I think she's got it.
She's on everything. If just the people that have worked with her in the past 2 years vote for her, she'll win.
That's it. She's got it. But I had Gwendolyn in there for a very long time because I thought of the 4, she had the best chance and she has the best story. However, that vote splitting is going to really hurt Game of Thrones in this category, which is going to go against what we're probably going to say in the next category, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. It's Peter Dinklage. I'm done not picking him. Although I did have him last year, and I was one of the few. We looked back at old Derby predictions, and almost everybody had David Harbour.
Yeah, I did. I didn't think Peter Dinklage had a great season last time, and yet this time he did.
Anymore.
It really doesn't, and especially now that this season has happened, he was actually really strong this time. I don't think the vote splitting will really have much effect against Nikolai and Alfie, and so I think he has it. And if it's anybody else, then God help me, because then you've got more vote splitting with the Better Call Saul guys. This is another category that, if it wasn't for Peter Dinklage, would be giving me heartburn.
Who do you have on? I'm interested in the next 2 because I literally stared at the screen last night going, what do? I don't know what
I know.
In drama writing.
Okay, so look, you're going to laugh at me as well, but I think I took out my 2 Game of Throneses, Long Night and Iron Throne, directing, writing, and I've put in Succession in both. And I'm just going, I think it's going to win one of them, probably directing, because it's Adam McKay, but that season finale of Succession, as far as I'm concerned, and many other people that I have spoken to, that is a 10 out of 10 episode. And I just have a feeling that it could actually do it, because the Iron Throne wasn't beloved as an example of amazing drama writing.
Well, I had The Long Night forever. I think we have vote splitting here on directing. I wouldn't be shocked if a Game of Thrones, but again, which one? I mean, that one wasn't criticized for the direction, but certainly was on cinematography. So that's a director's responsibility. So I went with Adam McKay because last year they went with the Oscar-y type of director with Stephen Daldry, and I just think he could certainly win for directing, and he's a producer on that show as well. Writing, I had Killing Eve for a long time. I don't know that the writing was what people were talking about over the course of that season. You know what I ultimately did? This is why I said you were going to laugh. We've got to do these in 8 minutes. It would just be like an Emmy thing to give Game of Thrones writing for one of the worst episodes, because there's no writing.
It's true. You know what? I think that you're pretty much on the money. It will happen, but I just can't bring myself to do it. It just can't do it. I mean, The Bodyguard should be winning over Game of Thrones. All of them. They're all more worthy than this particular episode, even though I liked it. But anyway, let's see what happens. I'm going with Succession.
It's happened before where you go, well, this is a directorial achievement, and then it wins writing. Let's fly through these. We've got about 8 minutes, less than 8 minutes. Limited series.
Oof, that's a tough one because Chernobyl was beloved and the best reviewed show of this season. I'm going with When They See Us though, because it is more timely and people are talking about it still.
I've had no trouble on that one. I've had When They See Us forever. Even before people started seeing it, I was hearing that it was going to be a huge Emmy player, and nobody would believe me. Now, TV movie is very odd because none of them have directing nominations. None of them have writing nominations. I've ultimately decided just to go with my favorite, just so I could root for it, and that's Deadwood.
Yeah, I've seen 4 of the 5. It's not a very strong category. Deadwood has a lot of nominations. The others don't have as many. I'm going with Deadwood.
You know, I think Black Mirror really could do it, but the one that intrigues me there is King Lear. If this is the kind of category where people just vote and they haven't watched, they might just go with the name they've heard the most often in their life, which is King Lear, and assume
King Lear.
Oh, that was really good.
Yeah, Anthony Hopkins and Emma Thompson, like, you can't really go wrong. No.
Movie mini actress, it's like a 3-3 split. It's like 3 have a really strong shot and 3 probably don't. Although Marcus is picking Niecy Nash. Michelle Williams, I think it was the best performance I saw of anybody all year long on anything.
Oh, I didn't love Fosse Verdon, but I loved her in this, and I've heard a lot of people say that. Patricia Arquette has won everything under the sun, so let's not get too excited. This is going to be close, even with Amy Adams. So, but I think Michelle will take it.
Oh, you do? Okay, not Patricia or Amy.
No.
Movie mini actor, I think, is down to 2. Although I'd love Hugh Grant to get it. He's done several interviews with Gold Derby. He would love to get it himself.
Yeah,
but,
and he deserves it.
I think the program not being in hurts him on a very tough category.
It does. I'm going with Joel Jerome. He broke my heart. He broke a lot of people's hearts, and he has stunned everybody with that performance. I can't imagine him losing. But Jared Harris, Sam Rockwell, Mahershala Ali, they're all also.
I think it's Jarrell. I don't think many of the others have a really strong chance of winning, but Jared Harris really intrigues me if they want to go with the person they've seen for many years and worked with and that veteran actor. But we saw that didn't matter last year. I thought that was going to happen last year, and Darren Criss had a very villainous role and was very young and still took it. So yeah. I think it's Jarrell, and that'll be a huge round of applause either way.
Totally.
The next 2, I don't think have much discussion. We got 5 minutes. Trisha Clarkson has got this right.
100%.
And
same goes to Ben Whishaw.
She won the Globe. She came to our Gold Derby party this summer. The valet was not working well. It was this small little road up in the hills, and she and her rep come running into the party without their shoes on, and she says, "Only for Gold Derby would I run up the hill without shoes to get to this party."
God love her, and I've interviewed her, and she's wonderful. She's brilliant.
I think she's got it, and she's won twice before. She's never lost at the Emmys. Here's my only one out of all 15 acting categories being a non-series. I think Ben Whishaw, I think it's his moment. I think it's his time. He's almost a co-lead, as are several of these. Well, at least 2. I think it's his.
Me too. And if it's not him, then it's Stellan Skarsgård. He could give Chernobyl some stuff, but I think Ben's winning it.
2 Skarsgårds in 3 years.
I think so. I like that.
Let's see them presenting together. That would be fun. And when we do our Gold Derby Decade Awards, I'm interested to see if both of them make it into the nominee pool. Really quickly, directing and writing, I've got When They See Us on both.
I'm directing Chernobyl, writing Ava DuVernay for When They See Us.
Okay. I think it's going to be one of those sweet nights, but the actors hurt themselves by having so many parts playing. Yeah. Competition program's got to be RuPaul, right?
Definitely. Moving on.
We had last year, but we were rewatching the Emmys the other night, and that was not a done deal. That was first time they had won last year. I don't know how so many of us knew that was about to happen when it was going to be the first time. After it wasn't like their first nomination either.
Yeah, it was just in the air. There was something about it. Yeah, and it's going to do it again.
John Oliver wins talk, right?
Without a doubt, in my mind.
Sketch is SNL.
Same with SNL in sketch.
And then directing
writing.
Variety is the same thing. Oliver and SNL.
SNL last week tonight. So those won't surprise, and I can't see a world in which anything really bubbles up to the surface. Do you?
No, but in our last couple of minutes here, the one that has me a little intrigued, I've seen a really strong campaign for documentary now this year, even though it's been up several times. Something about this season really latched on with critics and people, and don't be shocked there. The episode they submitted was set in the music industry. They're up for original song. Had John Mulaney in it, who's an Emmy favorite right now. That's something that might kind of be one of those where you go, what? Or on Sketch.
Or on Sketch. I mean, I guess if Saturday Night Live had a really weak year, I would probably go for that argument because documentary now has really moved up in the world. But SNL still pretty much delivered, not as much as last season, but I think it did enough to grab these two awards.
Now, what are you and your wife, since we've got less than 1 minute left, looking forward to the most about the Emmy ceremony, being in the auditorium?
I think it would just be to see the inner workings of an award show behind the scenes is exciting. You know, I've been doing these things for a very long time. You know, I'm 41 now. I think I've been doing this stuff since I was 12. So it's about bloody time that I get a chance to do this, and I'm very
I've never
excited.
gone, and I told our group, I've let Rob go, Daniel go, Marcus go.
You're going next year.
So I said next year's my turn.
Absolutely.
Instead of working the press room and the red carpet. Thank you, Rob. We look forward to seeing all of your family here in just a few days. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Be sure to go in and make your final predictions. You've still got time. You can change them all the way up until the ceremony starts on September 27th.